Hello. Okay, Pippi Longstocking. Pippi goes to school. In the last chapter, two policemen tried to get Pippi Longstocking into a children's home because she's living all on her own. Okay, let's see what happens to Pippi in this chapter. Naturally, Tommy and Annika went to school. These are Pippi's neighbours, if you remember. Every morning at 8 o'clock, they wandered off hand in hand with their school books under their arm. At that time, Pippi was busy grooming her horse or getting Mr. Nilsson dressed in his little suit. Or else she was doing her morning exercises, which involved standing bolt upright on the floor and turning 43 somersaults, one after the other. After that, she would sit at her kitchen table and in peace and quiet drink a large cup of coffee and eat a cheese sandwich. Tommy and Annika always looked longingly at Villa Villacula as they trudged past on their way to school. They would much rather have been going to play with Pippi. If only Pippi had been going to school too. That would have made it more bearable. Oh, think of all the fun we could have on our way home from school, said Tommy. Yeah, and on the way there, said Annika. The more they thought about Pippi not going to school, the worse they felt. Finally, they decided to try and talk her into going. We've got the best teacher ever. You have no idea, said Tommy slyly one afternoon when he and Annika went round to Villa Villacula after first doing their homework properly. If only you knew how much fun we have in school, said Annika. I'd go potty if I wasn't allowed to go. Pippi was sitting on a stool, washing her feet in a basin. She didn't say anything. All she did was wiggle her big toe for a while, splashing water around her. You don't have to be there that long, said Tommy. Only till 2 o'clock. That's right, and you get Christmas holidays and Easter holidays and summer holidays, said Annika. Pippi bit her big toe, thinking hard, but still not saying anything. And without warning, she tipped all the water out onto the kitchen floor so that Mr. Nilsson, who was sitting nearby playing with a mirror, got his trousers soaked. It's unfair, Pippi said crossly, ignoring how upset Mr. Nilsson was about his wet trousers. It is absolutely unfair. I won't put up with it. What? Asked Tommy. Well, in 4 months it will be Christmas, and you'll get a Christmas holiday. But what will I get? Pippi sounded sad. No Christmas holiday, not even the teensy, weeniest little Christmas holiday, she complained. Well, we'll soon change that. Tomorrow, I start school. Tommy and Annika clapped their hands in delight. Hooray! We'll wait for you outside our front gate at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Oh no, said Pippi. I can't start that early. And anyway, I'll be riding to school. And that's exactly what she did at 10 o'clock on the dot the next day. She lifted her horse down from the veranda, and a moment later everyone in the little town rushed to their windows to see the horse that had bolted, or so they thought. But it hadn't. It was only Pippi, in a hurry to get to school. Galloping wildly, she skidded into the school playground, jumped off the horse before it had stopped, tied him to a tree, and flung open the school door with a crash that made Tommy and Annika and all their classmates jump at their desks. Howdy-do, bellowed Pippi, waving her big hat. Have I come in time for multiplication? I can never say this word. Multiplication. Have I come in time for multiplication? Tommy and Annika had told their teacher that a new girl called Pippi Longstocking was going to turn up. The teacher had heard people in the town talking about Pippi, and because she was a very kind and friendly teacher, she decided to do all she could to make sure that Pippi would be happy at school. Pippi threw herself down at an empty desk without being told, but the teacher wasn't upset by her rude behaviour. She said very kindly, Welcome to school, Pippi dear. I hope you will enjoy being here and that you will learn a lot. Yes, I hope I get a Christmas holiday as well, said Pippi. That's why I've come. There must be some justice. Well, perhaps first of all you would like to tell me your full name, said the teacher, so I can write it in the register. I'm called Pippilotta, Victoria Ara, Tea Cosy, Apple Minter, Ephraim's daughter, Longstocking, daughter of Captain Ephraim, I think it's probably pronounced Ephraim, Longstocking, formerly the terror of the high seas, and now a South Sea Island pirate. Sorry, it's not what it says. And now a South Sea Island king. Pippi, for short, because Dad thought Pippilotta was too long. I see, said the teacher. Then we shall also call you Pippi. Now, what about seeing how much you know? She went on. You're a big girl, and I'm sure you already know quite a lot. Let's start with arithmetic. Now, Pippi, can you tell me what you get if you add 7 and 5 together? Pippi looked at her in astonishment. Then she said crossly, well, if you don't know yourself, I'm certainly not going to tell you. All the children stared at Pippi in horror. Then the teacher explained that she mustn't speak like that in school and that she had to call the teacher Miss. I'm ever so sorry, said Pippi apologetically. I didn't know. I won't do it again. I hope not, said the teacher. And I can tell you that 7 plus 5 is 12. You see, said Pippi. You knew it yourself, so what did you ask me for? Oops, silly me. I forgot. Sorry, miss, she said, and gave her ear a hard pinch. The teacher decided to ignore that. She carried on. Well, Pippi, how much do you think 8 plus 4 is? Roughly 67, guessed Pippi. No, it's not, said the teacher. 8 plus 4 is 12. My good woman, I really have to say that now you're going too far, said Pippi. You just said yourself that 7 and 5 is 12. There has to be some kind of order even at school. Anyway, if you're so madly keen on that kind of nonsense, why don't you find a corner to sit in and do your sums and leave us to play tag? Oh no, I forgot to call you Miss again, she shrieked, horrified at herself. Can you forgive me? Just this once. I'll try to behave better in future. The teacher said that she would, but she didn't think there was any point trying to teach Pippi more arithmetic. She started asking the other children instead. Tommy, can you answer this? She said. If Lisa has 7 apples and Axel has 9 apples, Axel has 9 apples, how many apples do they have altogether? Yeah, you tell us, Tommy, Pippi chimed in. And while you're at it, you can tell me this. If Lisa gets a tummy ache and Axel gets even more of a tummy ache, whose fault is it? And where did they scrump the apples from? Scrumping, I should tell you if you don't know the word scrumping. Apple scrumping. It's where you would find your own apples in an orchard or, from an apple tree. Apple scrumping. Finding apples yourselves. Taking them from the tree. The teacher tried to pretend that she hadn't heard and turned to Annika. Now, Annika, here's one for you. Gustav was with his friends on a school outing. He had 1 krona when he left and 7 öre when he got home. How much had he spent? Exactly, said Pippi. I'd like to know why he wasted so much money, or if he bought lemonade, or if he washed behind his ears properly before he left home. The teacher decided to abandon arithmetic completely. She thought Pippi might be more interested in learning to read, which is why she showed them a beautiful little poster of an igloo. Beside the igloo was the letter I. Now, Pippi, I'm going to show you something interesting, she said. This is an igloo, and the first letter is called I. Oh, I can't believe that, said Pippi. It looks more like a straight line with fly poo at the top. And I would really like to know what an igloo has got to do with fly poo. The teacher showed them another poster with a picture of a snake and explained to Pippi that the first letter was S. Speaking of snakes, Pippi said, I'll never forget the time I fought a massive snake in India. You'd never believe how horrendous it was. 14 metres long and angry as a raging bull, and every day he ate up 5 Indian villagers with 2 little children for dessert. And once he came and wanted me for dessert, and he wound himself around me, squish. But I've seen a few things in my time, I said, and clobbered him on the head, bang, and then he hissed, hiss, hiss, and so I bashed him again, whack, and he died. So there you are, that's the letter S for you. It's quite something. Pippi had to stop and catch her breath, and the teacher, who now thought Pippi was a troublesome and difficult child, suggested the class could do some drawing instead. Pippi was sure to sit still and draw nicely, thought the teacher. She handed out paper and crayons to the children. You can draw whatever you like, she said, and she sat down at her desk and began marking homework. After a while, she looked up to see how they were getting on. All the children were sitting looking at Pippi, who was very happily drawing all over the floor. "Oh, Pippi," said the teacher impatiently, "why aren't you drawing on the paper?" "Well, I filled that up ages ago. There's no room for my horse on that piddling little piece of paper," said Pippi. "I'm in the middle of doing the front legs now, but when I get to the tail, most likely I'll have to go out into the corridor." The teacher thought desperately for a few minutes. "What if we sing a little song now instead?" she suggested. The children stood beside their desks, all except Pippi, who stayed where she was on the floor. "You sing, by all means. I'll have a little rest here," she said. "Too much knowledge can send the sanest person completely bonkers." I'm going to stop there. End of part 1.